Musical reboot. These are the 2025 movies worth making some room on your calendar for. Originally intended for release in November of 2024, Marvel Studios' Fantastic Four reboot has been pushed back to February 14th, 2025. The long-awaited project is set to be one of the first films of the MCU's Phase 6, which will also include 2 Avengers films, but more on that later. In September of 2022, Deadline reported that Jeff Kaplan and Ian Springer had been brought on to write the screenplay for the film, with Matt Shakman directing. While Springer and Kaplan haven't had a ton of high-profile work go up in Hollywood yet, Shakman is an experienced TV director with episodes of Fargo, Game of Thrones, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia on his resume. He's worked with Marvel Studios before, having directed and executive produced the first Marvel Disney Plus series, WandaVision, in 2021. Few story details have been released about the new Fantastic Four, but as always, there are some clues as to what fans can expect. For one, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige has suggested that he wants to avoid a traditional origin story, considering how many times the Fantastic Four has been adapted for the big screen since the turn of the century.
This is the story that Kevin wants.
Okay, then I want to talk to Kevin.
Popular fan cast John Krasinski has already played a version of Reed Richards in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but the actor has stated that he isn't necessarily planning on returning. There was a time when the whole point of an MCU movie was to help build up to a new entry in the Avengers series. But ever since Iron Man snapped his fingers and turned Thanos into dust back in 2019, that hasn't been the case. By the time Avengers: The Kang Dynasty is released in 2025, currently scheduled for May 2nd, the MCU will have gone 2 entire phases without an entry in the Avengers saga. That should be enough to build plenty of excitement for the series' 5th installment, but there are plenty of other reasons to look forward to it. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings director Destin Daniel Cretton is set to direct The Kang Dynasty, with Jeff Loveness writing the script. Loveness, who comes from a background writing for comedy shows like Jimmy Kimmel Live and Rick and Morty, also penned the screenplay for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which brings Kang the Conqueror to the MCU for the first time. As such, he seems like a perfect choice to write Avengers 5, and it's likely that the Phase 5 film will set up a lot. As of now, all we know about the Kang Dynasty is that it will star the titular time-traveling villain who seems ready to usurp Thanos' throne as the MCU's scariest antagonist. The comic run from which the film takes its title may offer some clues. In it, Kang successfully takes over the entire world, bringing unparalleled destruction and terror along the way. The Avengers will definitely have their hands full in Phase 6. The all-star horror movie team of James Wan, Jason Blum, and Akela Cooper united to release Megan in early 2023, a surprise hit about a young girl's robotic companion who turns murderous. Directed by Gerard Johnstone, the film grossed nearly $175 million at the global box office on a budget of just $12 million, sparking rumors of a sequel that has since been confirmed. According to Deadline, Megan 2.0 is planned for release on January 17th, 2025. Original stars Allison Williams and Violet McGraw are both set to return, with Williams stepping into a full producer role as well. In an interview with New Zealand's One News, Johnstone said he's in talks to return as director. While we don't have any leads on story details yet, it's not hard to imagine where Megan 2.0 might go. The first film ends on a victorious but ominous note that ensures viewers know that the titular Megan is far from dead. Given the sci-fi trappings of the franchise, there are any number of ways she could return: bigger, scarier, and deadlier. Cooper returns to pen the script, while both Blum and Wan are set to act as producers, which means that it's safe to assume that the sequel will have the same overall feel as the original. In an interview with Collider, Wan said he already has ideas for a bigger world for the series. Could this be the start of the next hit horror franchise? Only time will tell. In early 2021, fans of Avatar: The Last Airbender rejoiced at the announcement of Avatar Studios, a new division of Paramount Plus and Nickelodeon fully focused on developing the beloved franchise. Original series creators Brian Konietzko and Michael Dante DiMartino will serve as chief creative officers for the studio's first animated film intended for theatrical release. Over a year later, Nickelodeon teased, through Avatar Korra voice actor Janet Varney, that the film would follow Avatar Aang and his friends. In November of 2022, a release date of October 10th, 2025 was announced. No other story details have been confirmed, but given the recent history of the Avatar franchise, we can assume a few things. The official comics from Dark Horse take place in the immediate aftermath of the original show's finale, and it seems unlikely that the movie, the franchise's triumphant return to animation, would simply recycle those stories. Plus, the original voice cast is grown up now, and Zach Tyler Eisen, the actor behind Aang, doesn't really do voiceover work anymore. For these reasons, it might make more sense for the film to follow adult versions of the Avatar: The Last Airbender characters, with either new voice actors or the ones used for flashbacks in The Legend of Korra.
Well, that's just silly. I don't sound like that.
Oh man, this writer's a genius!
Either way, the film definitely sounds promising. In addition to Konietzko and DiMartino, longtime franchise director Lauren Montgomery is helming the project, and the versatile Australian animation studio Flying Bark Productions will produce. Hopefully, things go better than the last time Aang and his friends hit cinemas. The past few years have been rough for Star Wars on the big screen. After the lackluster responses to Solo: A Star Wars Story and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, Disney officially declared a hiatus on its planned slate of future films, deciding to focus instead on building out the franchise on Disney Plus instead. For a time, Star Wars was set to return to theaters in 2023, with Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie looking like the likely choice. However, Jenkins' film has been temporarily derailed, with Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy telling Vanity Fair in 2022 that it was undergoing rewrites. As of now, a Star Wars movie is still slated for release in December of 2025, but it's hard to predict what it will be. Numerous projects have been rumored over the past few years, including potential films from Taika Waititi, Stranger Things producer Sean Levy, and Star Trek Into Darkness writer Damon Lindelof. A story from The Hollywood Reporter in October of 2022 claimed that Lindelof's film may be the next one up in 2025, and that a writer's room has already assembled at Lucasfilm to work on ideas. It's clear that Disney is experimenting with many different ideas, which makes it hard to predict what we'll get next. At the very least, Lucasfilm doesn't seem to be lacking ideas. Kennedy told Total Film in 2022 that she wants to create a whole new saga, and there have been reports of both a Knights of the Old Republic project and more movies set in the sequel era. Whatever happens, the return of Star Wars to the big screen is an exciting prospect for fans. It may feel strange if you grew up watching SpongeBob SquarePants on Nickelodeon, but the animated undersea comedy franchise is now nearly as prolific on the big screen as the small. The series first made its way to theaters with 2004's The SpongeBob SquarePants Movie, which carried the same core animation style as the show. Over a decade passed before the next big screen outing, 2015's The SpongeBob Movie, Sponge Out of Water, which became a huge success. The SpongeBob Movie, Sponge on the Run, followed in 2020, and another film in the modern 3D style has been announced for May 23, 2025. Nickelodeon hasn't revealed any real details of what the story will entail, and with the franchise now more expansive than ever, the possibilities are endless. SpongeBob SquarePants has become a major IP asset for Paramount in the company's modern hybrid release era, with the movie supplementing multiple series across both traditional television and streaming distribution on Paramount+. It could even be said that the studio is overloaded with SpongeBob SquarePants content, but it still shows no signs of slowing down. Sponge Out of Water was a box office hit and received strong reviews, but Sponge on the Run was met with a much more lukewarm reception a few years later.
Oh, now, buck up. It's not over yet, SpongeBob.
It sure feels over. And crappy.
It remains to be seen if the third film of this modern series will continue a decline or return to the franchise's former peaks. With some luck, it'll be the latter. A Quiet Place has become one of the biggest surprises in recent movie history, growing from a one-off horror movie made on a $17 million budget to a blockbuster franchise. The creative collaboration between real-life couple John Krasinski and Emily Blunt was a standout hit, and a spin-off film set before the events of the original is set for release in 2024. Those who want the proper conclusion to the story of the Abbott family, however, will have to wait until 2025. Blunt has been open for some time about the original story being intended as a trilogy, which suggests that A Quiet Place Part 3 will wrap up the major character arcs that began in 2018. In early 2022, Krasinski declared a 2025 release for the threequel. Presumably, he'll be directing once again. With a full-on prequel set to release before A Quiet Place Part 3 comes out, there could be a lot of new elements added to the hit horror saga. That should make the eventual conclusion even more exciting. But for now, details are being kept under wraps. After a somewhat confused period for the Caped Crusaders' film career following Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy, director Matt Reeves and star Robert Pattinson returned Bruce Wayne to his former glory with The Batman. The 2022 film received excellent reviews and performed well at the box office, succeeding on the merits of its gritty, noir-inspired tone and stellar production design. It wasn't long before a proper sequel was announced, with Pattinson and Reeves both returning along with Project Power writer Mattson Tomlin on scripting duty. The film is set to release on October 3rd, 2025. The Batman has already done an excellent job of building out a distinct version of Gotham City, and it's easy to imagine all kinds of directions in which the sequel could go. Pattinson himself told Den of Geek in 2022 that he'd be interested in a version of the popular Court of Owls storyline, while Reeves has expressed interest in a grounded version of Mr. Freeze. It's also likely that Barry Keoghan's Joker, who debuted at the end of The Batman, could play a major role. There's even the possibility that we haven't yet seen the last of Paul Dano's Riddler.
And you know, Gotham loves a comeback story.
Gotham City has a nearly endless trove of bad guys to pull from, and Reeves has proved himself a very competent filmmaker with both The Batman and other projects like the latter-day Planet of the Apes movies. Wherever his team decides to take the story, it should be exciting to watch. The Smurfs haven't had the steadiest track record at the modern box office, with Sony Pictures' 2010's film series receiving poor reviews throughout its run. In 2022, it was announced that Nickelodeon and Paramount would be putting their own spin on the classic franchise with an animated musical film scheduled for release in 2024. That date was later pushed to February 14th, 2025 to make room for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. As you might expect, the upcoming reboot is intended to be a family film with plenty of cartoon whimsy and musical charm. Chris Miller has been tapped to direct the picture. He's quite experienced in the genre, having previously helmed the DreamWorks animation features Shrek the Third and Puss in Boots. There's been little in the way of official casting news, but it seems safe to assume that the new Smurfs film will follow the modern Hollywood trend of casting an ensemble of recognizable stars to play the various roles. Hopefully, Paramount can finally do the brand justice and properly relaunch the Smurfs for a new generation. The Tron franchise is one of Disney's oddest. The original 1982 film wasn't exactly a box office smash, but it developed a cult appeal thanks to its groundbreaking CGI effects, a rare sight at the time. A sequel, Tron Legacy, followed in 2010, but momentum stalled on any further development of the franchise. Now, a third film, currently going by the name of Tron Ares, is finally back on the books with Jared Leto set to star and Joachim Rønning directing. The movie is currently expected on December 19th, 2025. Under Rønning's direction, it could be quite a spectacle. The filmmaker is no stranger to the contemporary live-action Disney blockbuster machine, having previously helmed films like Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man Tell No Tales in 2017, and Maleficent, Mistress of Evil in 2019. Leto may be less of a sure thing, as he's developed a reputation for box office bombs in addition to his questionable on-set behavior. Regardless, a return to the digital grid of Tron with today's advancements in computer animation technology is an exciting idea. The series has always been more about a certain look and feel than a hard-hitting narrative, and it's likely that this trend will continue into the future. Maybe Disney can even get Daft Punk back together to do the soundtrack again, but we're not getting our hopes up that high.
This is going to be quite a ride.